Welcome, everyone. This is another episode of EAM Experts. Today with us, we have Terrence O'Hanlon. He's going to be speaking about how mobility can drive asset management success. Terrence is a certified maintenance reliability professional, and his work developing Uptime Elements, reliability framework, and asset management system as a cultural change management methodology has been used by thousands of organizations for the past 10 years. Mr. O'Hanlon has trained over 30,000 professionals on the use of Uptime Elements framework since 2013. Mr. Terrence, thank you very much. How are you?
Hey, wow, that was already. We ran out of time with that bio. It's so boring, you know. I thought I was here to talk about the metaverse. I didn't know we
Hey,
were going to
that's
talk about
that's what
mobility.
the Google profile said. So that's what we do.
Yeah. You know, sometimes it makes sense. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why should I even be talking about this? And I think maybe a summary way I would explain myself and what I do is I see a lot of journeys. That's the part that I'm really good at. There's a lot of really great practitioners doing, data management or planning, scheduling, or asset hierarchies and things of that nature. I'm more like, okay, you want to go from here to here. I've seen that about 5 million times. Let's see where you're at and what you want to do. And I learn from every journey. Every journey is different, but it's got some similarities. And I kind of like to just see around the corner and see what's coming and help people see if they can see what's coming around the corner. So it's exciting times in enterprise asset management. It's super great to have new thought like your organizations are putting out. I love your publishing. I love your podcasts and your video casts. We need to talk about it. There's no colleges, there's no high schools, there's no technical schools. We have to talk about it. So for me, I hope I don't sound too excited, but I'm pretty excited to be here.
That's that's perfect. Would you say you're a travel agency of the sort?
The crew, we talked about one time maybe making a big reliability and maintenance conference on a cruise ship, and we would all just go to Miami and take off from there, and you're stuck. You got to talk about reliability for the next 7 days, but at least you're on a cruise ship. We thought maybe that would be a way to get it going.
That's one way to put it. Uh, Also, we have Rene Nazario. He's CEO of Visual K. He's been over 20 years making sure that companies have some sort of a similar journey to you guys. Thank you very much, Rene. How are you?
Thanks, Ernesto. So I'm thrilled, more excited than Terrence because I got the pleasure to talk with one of the Jedi masters of reliability that a myth on his own. Terrence, he's been known by everybody, and we're really excited to have this conversation. And obviously, it's not hopefully not the first, not the last, so we can continue to expand in mutual benefits. I think that like Terrence said, there's a lot of things going out there, not necessarily the academics are talking about it. And I really like the approach that Terrence brings. He has a lot of expertise, a lot of experience that can be a benefit. And so really excited to be here today and to talk about this and get it started. And so getting right off on it, and talking about mobility. And I know, it could mean a lot of things for a lot of people. And I know, Terrence, you've been around and you see, all sorts of colors and kinds and stuff, right? But if we were to say, what does it mean? How do you see it out there? How can we try to put our head around the concept of mobility and how it can help, with the asset management? What would you say?
Like you say, a lot of different ways to look at it, but I think one of the simple ways is mobility means technology that goes with you wherever you go. So if you go to the asset, the technology goes with you. If you're going to talk to the boss, the technology goes with you. If you're going to finance, the technology goes with you. So it's sort of you're taking your desk, your world, your connections to the world with you.
Super, super. And I know that, if you're taking it with you, right? There's a connection there. There's a connected, worker now. And how would you say, or what have you seen that, that connection or that ability to bring the technology with you, how can it help improve the maintenance, right? So how does it make it better or easier or more reliable, or, how does it help?
I mean, think about it. I mean, it's astonishing, really. This time that we're in right now, just because of what you just said, because of the connection, because the connection that's available to us, we now can have decisions based on data and domain expertise. Whereas before we were sort of having to have just domain expertise, and the domain expert was never to be questioned. You hoped they had data, but most of the time you kind of knew that they didn't have data, and you hope for the best. And we've done okay. We've created our methodologies and our tricks and our our bag of approaches to all that, and we're surviving. But now we're in this really super exciting time where we're connecting. You're right. Mobility also means connected. We could have just gone right there. Connected to the asset, connected to the asset information, which is an asset. Sometimes we don't treat the asset information like it's an asset, but it is an asset. You said the frontline worker, connected to the frontline worker. How about connected to their supervisors, connected to their managers, connected to their support system? Subject matter experts on the air conditioner or the heat exchanger or the valve or whatever it is that they've got. They would have access to that. Connected to what we call trustworthy. So not just cyber secure, but cyber secure, but evergreen, up to date, synchronized data. I mean, I know that's a dream for a lot of people, but unless you start, you're never going to get there. So, it means, eventually merging with, we were talking about the metaverse. Eventually it means we'll just be doing maintenance in the metaverse. But in the meantime, we have the real world to get to. And it's that frontline worker, I think, is the key in all that, techie I'm spouting there. The frontline worker is where the rubber meets the road, where the asset really gets cared for. The asset gets all the care it needs to run perfectly. That's still sort of a human function. We haven't quite automated that yet.
Yep.
So having that person who's the caretaker of the asset, the one that really is where you're going to get assured value if they're following the strategy, you're supporting them. You're empowering and supporting them, and that's all extremely possible now. Connections are ubiquitous. Technology is small. It's battery operated. We're learning why our data sources are, why we should have been closing those work orders all these years, and putting accurate failure codes on them. It's at the end of the day, it's data. So we can make decisions. And there now if you do that connection to the frontline worker and the asset and their management and the information systems, you're going to be miles and miles and miles ahead. You're preparing yourself for all the awesomeness that is knocking at our door right now from a technology standpoint.
Agreed. In talking about it, we were doing an APM seminar, and it really hit me when they were talking about, some risk-based inspections that they were doing, on the mobile, and that was driving, the asset condition. So all of a sudden I'm thinking the guy out there really has a tool that is going to be connecting him to reliability like that. I mean, he's really now driving it. So that concept that was maybe foreign or maybe, hard to grasp is right now on his fingers, because he's driving it in the front seat, and he's making the call based on that inspection. Hey, this is the condition, and boom, everything is going to happen. So to me, that was one of the key benefits that, it really brings it, like you were saying, brings it home to the guy that's, the person that's doing the work. And I'm sure that you've seen a lot of different benefit and use cases. I don't know if you can share with our audience some of the things that you've seen out there and benefits.
Well, as you just were flashing your phone, we've seen mobility from mobile agile robots, that are walking around with things like phones, cameras, certainly cameras, visual cameras to, is the fire extinguisher there? Is it, it can actually read the tag and the date and all that type of thing. So that's something a human used to do, and it can walk around and walk upstairs and things of that nature. Impressive. But now you can put a visual vibration a sensor on its back, or you could outfit it with a FLIR infrared camera, and it walks out and does the inspection. I mean, that's mobility even without the connected worker. The connected worker's there. They're just back where it's nice and safe and air conditioned, and watching the robot do that inspection. So we've actually seen that, and that reminds me kind of your statement. A couple of years ago, we were just kind of dreaming about it, and now people are hooking it up and creating, work orders off of it. We were at a manufacturing plant, and again, with the phone, like just what's in your hand. They were doing there was some defect that was 1 in 1,000 or something on the front bumper, and they just set up an iPhone to scan for it. And this iPhone went into a model apparently that had the, what it looked like when it was good, what it looked like when it was bad, and bing, it never missed. It never took a vacation, never took a sick day. and that's, I'm kind of saying that, wow, there's all this labor savings and everything. And of course, you have to talk about that. That's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is that you're automating a lot of this stuff. Now, does that mean a headcount reduction? I don't think it has to. I think it means that you're freeing up the people who know your assets so well, care for your assets so well, that they can now do the things that they always wanted to do. They were almost, begging, boss, come on, please let us clean up the hydraulic leaks, let us, so to me, there's lots for everybody to do. It's just, let's have them doing the right things. Let's have them doing it safely. Let's have them, meeting our business objectives. And it's all about empowerment through information and data. That's what's so exciting about it. They're the heroes of the world without data. Now imagine if we empower them with good decision-making data.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. I think that's very interesting.
It's fun.
So I have a question. You mentioned earlier that some people only dream about mobility. How would you see, the gauging of, how many people are engaging with mobile devices at this point, perhaps, on your opinion?
Well, I have more than opinion. I have measurement. We do studies of this, and in 2021 in the USA it's just over 50%. Just over 50% could say that they could get a work order on their mobile device. Now, that's pretty astonishing. That's up from 20% in 2011. So that's, I guess that's some significant growth. But if you told if you were interviewing someone 22 years old and you were saying, you're going to come into my highly automated warehousing and distribute, and this, that, and the next thing. Oh, by the way, I'll be giving you a stack of paper work orders every day. I can't even imagine what they would look at you like. But I mean, but that's the reality for 50% of us. And it seems archaic. I mean, I don't, I'm a little embarrassed even just to be reporting it in this day and age, that we're not connecting people we're not connecting at least the asset and the frontline worker and the asset information system. There's so much more potential for connection, but at least that. There's technology constraints, there's cultural constraints, there's cost constraints. Doing software right is it turns out it's hard if you don't plan it like a project. If you're not good at projects, you're probably not going to be really great at software. So you really need help. You need help, and don't be beyond asking for help, and make sure you understand that help. You're the maintenance expert, you're the asset expert, you're the workforce expert, though, the IT and the consultants and all the suppliers, they're there to realize your vision. What you have to be smart enough to do is be able to write your vision down on a couple of pages, so that they can know what the business requirements are. They can know what you're trying to do, but you have to slow down a little bit and really understand the business that you're in and be able to describe it, because the support systems for EAM, you can go to Mars. I mean, you can do anything you want to do. There's nothing you can't do, but you need to be able to know how to ask for it, and within within your budget.
Awesome. So I would ask you this: why does it matter, right? There's a comparison between having those big papers and all that, and obviously it's more comfortable. But why should it be this the new way to do things?
I love an atlas. I mean, I do. I just love an atlas. So if I'm driving to California, I'm going to see, okay, if I go off the interstate, what are my options here? And and I'm going to understand how to read that map. Now, I realize that most people who will be riding with me in the car probably won't be able to do that. Why does it matter? Because I can just say, get me to Northern California or whatever, and the technology will do that for me. I feel sort of helpless when that's happening, and I sort of want to know what's going on behind the scenes. But it is clear that technology is at the point where it can and should be doing a lot of the routine things that we used to have to spend a lot of time and worry to do. So I'm not at all complaining or wanting to be a dinosaur. I think we should let technology work for us. Abe Lincoln said flame was a terrible master, a wonderful slave. That is, that's the same thing with technology. But we have to know what we're doing. That's why we work with a framework. That's why we love standards like from ISO. So even if you have a complaint with the standard, or you have a complaint with a framework that you might be using, calibrate the complaint to it, because what you're doing is you're locking a standard. And what we learned from Toyota is that if you don't have a standard, you cannot improve. It's not possible to improve. So even if you're not in love with your standard, it's at least it's a starting point. It's a concrete place that you can improve from. And so you're going to start your journey. The one thing I know about journeys, you will always start it exactly where you are. So start it where you are. Be okay with that, and just understand it. And we're in a community where a lot of people can help you understand where you are and where you need to be. They may not understand your company, or your culture. You have to do that. That's what the reliability leader does. But there's plenty of help for the journey.
Yep. So what would be some of those tools that you would say, this, and the way I see it, it helps. It's such a small screen that allows you to focus on a specific feature or aspect of the exercise. So what are some of the features or different things that you can do on the mobile, perhaps on work management environment?
Well, one, you've got that beautiful camera with you and video recorder to be able to and you're connected, so you can connect to remote help and things of that nature. There's a technology out of France, Vibe, VIIBE, where as you're supporting your workforce, it actually builds a library for you of maintenance procedures and things of that nature. So you're not only supporting your workforce, you're building your future process, procedures, checklists, library from reality. Not from someone retired trying to write down the 10 steps of the process. The process is real because you're doing it with your phone. Having access to an asset, having access to an image of an asset, having access to the operating instructions of an asset, having the spare parts list, the BOM, the procedures. There's just so many benefits to connecting. The history, knowing what happened, the last repair and the repair before that. It's just so invaluable for the professionals that we send out there. there is research that shows that steady state operation, no, we're just running, is the safest period for operating. That very few injuries take place in steady state. It's when there is what they call abnormal operation or a transient of a shutdown, a startup, or emergency work. Under pressure, that's where about 50% of the injuries come, even though it may only be 5 to 10% of the total time envelope. So it's we call it a particularly perilous period, and you want to be very careful with it. You're not necessarily referring to the digital instructions. You're not looking at a drawing. You're in an emergency and you're doing the work, and you're more likely to be hurt. Whereas having the access to a video of how to unbolt the flange, or how to enter safely, or something of that nature, having that at the asset, to me, is just invaluable. So EAM connected to mobility, I just think everybody should be working on that. I mean, your data is going to improve. You'll pay for it just from data improvement. But they're we work with Boston Dynamics. I know they're in your world also. They have a mobile robot that's quite easy to train. I can learn to be a robot trainer in one day, and it can do useful functions for inspection for me. There's workforce training, and training and support are also big, I guess, for mobility as well. But I don't want to lose track. It's data. At the end of the day, it's because one of your best sensors is your frontline workforce, and to not outfit them with instantaneous ways to input data for what they're seeing and they're smelling and they're hearing, you're crazy. Go, hook them up instantly. Go hook them up now.
I think you've hit a couple of points there that I definitely agree. This is obviously a journey. You start where you are, and it doesn't matter what or how much you gather, as long as you're starting to gather that data, right? And as long as you're getting to a point where you can measure how you're doing, and then from there you can decide, okay, so I need more data, right? I need to get to that next point. But you started somewhere, and you're starting to gather that data.
No, Ernesto, yes. I think it's so important, because what you're really talking about is it's real. It's real look, I just did this little bit and it was really valuable for the business. Imagine if I did this bit at scale, or I did this bit times 100, what the value is. So I like that, because it is change. So the way that you're presenting it is that we can, everyone's going to, whenever there's change, there's doubt. And the more we can use data to illuminate that there's no reason for the doubt, the better off. We get more people joining us on the journey. We have their efforts lifting us.
Yep.
I think it's really interesting, and I think we answered this, but you'd be surprised, Terrence, the amount of times that we get asked, "Hey, is it really necessary for me to give a mobile device, to my technicians? Is it a distraction? Are they going to be doing something else instead of working? And we get those questions. What would be your advice to those folks that are questioning whether it's the right thing to do or not?
Well, I'm a man of the people when it comes to the frontline workforce. So, I'm for give it to them and unlock it. I'm for let them check their Facebook, because if daddy's checking, little baby post, mommy posting baby stuff, they're never gonna drop that iPad. That iPad's gonna last 3 years. You let them check their Gmail. And great. What's the harm of that? You give them some ownership in the system. I'm a big believer in letting them use that as a resource, and not having to have the 2 phone and the 2 computer and the 2 situation. I just don't like that. I've seen it rolled out both ways. I understand the cybersecurity risks and things of that nature, but the best mobile programs I've seen is where they allow people to use some vetted personal applications. And I've also seen it that if the device makes it to 3 years, they've planned its replacement, and they sell it to the user at a very reduced rate, and that seems to cut out all the problems with ladder droppage and underwater usage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll share a story with you. We had a user at a government facility that had to use the system on the mobile, but she wasn't really wanted to change much. So it was a hard sell to tell her to use it. But once we installed Candy Crush on her iPad, and she was able to do Candy Crush and then do the inspections when she needed, problem solved. She was the happiest. We have a picture of her with the iPad and the mayor, right? And they're like, happy, problem solved. She's a very happy mobile user. So like you said, I completely agree, Terrence. I think you have to make it work for them. And now with the, the great resignation, we have to value our folks more and give them the freedom and also give them the ability to do the right thing. And I'm sure if you measure it correctly, like you said, it's going to happen, right? They're going to take care of it.
People are generally good. You start with that. People are generally good, and when it's making those boundaries, making those swim lanes and those boundaries clear, and then generally 99% play, in the swim lanes. They do it well.
Agreed. And to start wrapping it up, I mean, what would you say, Terrence, that are some of the main challenges? If I am new to this, right? Let's say, hey, I'm running this plant, I'm in charge. I get my technicians, I'm ready to roll it out, but I'm thinking, what should I, keep in mind? What are the main challenges regarding a mobile asset, strategy? As I go about it, what will be your recommendations and things to think about?
Well, it depends where you are on the polo field of sort of EAM maturity. You may find you have all kinds of constraints because of how you set up your database and things of that nature. So, that's one set of maybe approaches. Let's assume you've got things working along. You maybe implemented 7 years ago or so, and you've figured out most of the data challenges and you've got most of the workarounds going. I think it's a sort of a changed business case. And to me, the business case becomes two-way about getting more data and about serving more data with some sort of decision-making guidance that comes with that additional data. So maybe you have a better understanding of failure modes or criticality or something that makes it worthwhile, that you're going to get a little juiced productivity or optimization, on your approaches at the same time. I think going mobile isn't necessarily an optimization. So that's why I like to do something along with it, that's going to juice it just a little bit. So I would just set those expectations clearly, and explain why that makes for either a safer, a more sustainable, or a more successful, or some combination, for each person. Why does that matter to the operator? Why does that matter to the supervisor? Why does that matter to the storeroom? Let's get everybody linked into why this is much better for all of us to be working in a joined up way like this. And it's not just benefiting the maintenance technician or the boss. It's benefiting everyone. It's like EAM. It's usually either set up to benefit the people who want the reports, or it's set up to benefit the people who want to do the work, not the people who do the reports. You really need to find that win for everybody. What are you going to do with all the data? Show me and I'll put it in. Don't make me put in data and then nothing happens with it either. So, it's not just the technology, but what we've come clear on with a framework like Uptime Elements. You can have all the uptime elements you want. If you don't have the enabling technology, you're going to hit a performance wall at some point. To scale in an enterprise, you must have, good asset information management in a system that allows you to do that. And then you're just extending that through the mobility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I agree with you, Terrence. And I think one of the things you said is, start where you are, and then also like
Yeah.
you're saying, celebrate the wins, right? That might not be the huge, the biggest win, but it's something, and then you can build, like you were saying, build on top of that, right? That really,
And
because
celebrate the preventions, celebrate the avoidances, really learn how to celebrate them. Grab somebody from accounting and get them to teach you what is the acceptable way to do cost avoidance calculations and cost savings calculations, and then start taking full credit for it and blow your own horn. If not, call us. We'll put you on a podcast and we'll tell the whole world how great you've done.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. I just read this book called Upstream, and one of the hard things is when you do the right thing, it's calculating that exactly. How do you measure what you save because it didn't happen, right? You measured a disaster that never happened, and that's hard, but it's important.
Congratulations, nothing happened today. No one tracks you down in the parking lot, patting you on the back, saying, I'm gonna put you in for a promotion. Nothing happened today. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, nothing broke. Everything's working fine.
But it should be, right?
Right. Yeah, it's important. It's important. We have to keep it up. And I know we're gonna do another podcast, Terrence, on IMC and the certifications and Uptime and the conference. But if you want to give us some information on where you're headed in this year and things that are going on, it's always interesting to know, because our customers are always eager to learn, eager to get certified, eager to know more. What can you share with us?
Well, Uptime Elements, it's a basic reliability framework. It's a journey. It's a journey system. It's a journey support system. It's a change management system. We're going a little deeper this year with what we just introduced, this SDIPF curve. I have a blast with Nolan and Heath's original P to F curve. The SDIPF has nothing to do with what Nolan and Heath eventually wanted to do with their work, but it works very well for my work. So I've absconded with their wonderful P to F curve and do other things, unmentionable things that they never would have thought of. But it really is looking at the whole asset life and where the opportunity is to really leverage reliability and availability, and then to understand the supportability you need once that asset's out in the real world. We're often very aggressive in our assumption of the supportability that will be available to us. It's often much less than what's actually available to us to really gain the results that we want. So I guess at the end of the day, we're standing in the questions of why we just don't have reliability as a steady state. And that's really what Uptime Elements is all about. And you can work at it at a 1% level, at a 10% level, or at 100% level. I mean, it meets you where you are, and it'll go as deep as you want to go. We're just continuing to plumb the depths. So I would just say, you want to get involved with that, jump in, get trained, and do a CRL training. We have the International Maintenance Conference at the end of the year, December, sort of a great opportunity to just, I made it through the year, relax, exhale. We're at a 4-star Marco Island, JW Marriott Resort, the gorgeous sunsets with the dolphins frolicking outside. So, it's a wonderful place to be with, 1,000 of the best run companies, all there in one place. So you're getting so many ideas, you don't even know what to do with them all. You're hearing what's working, what's not working. It's really a great information share event. So those two things kind of have me breathless, and that's what I'm spending my time on.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So appreciate it. And we're looking forward to that next podcast where we go deeper and talk about it in more detail.
Looking forward to it. It's really great to talk to both of you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Terrence. Where can people find you?
Reliabilityweb.com. And same thing, you just look at reliabilityweb.com at LinkedIn if you want, you'll definitely find me.
Perfect. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us today. This has been a very interesting conversation about mobility. You can find this and other recordings on our LinkedIn page, on Twitter, and at our blog, visualk.com. You can also find it in our channels, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at Anchor FM. So that was it for today, but thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.